people. And apart from that, unless maybe 80–90% people may be following all these things, but still 4–5% people will be there who need some punitive, some threat also. Unless some punitive clause are there against littering, things will not improve. And if people start spoiling and not following strictly rules, others will also be encouraged to do that. So this aspect also have to be taken care. And lastly, that last point is that sanitation week, now we are thinking that each ULB should start sanitation week, and maybe it will go in the up to state level also, and then it will go up to center level also. Currently what is happening, whatever delegation go to outside, they come and whatever their report is there, that is not properly disseminated. So this will be a very good idea, that things should be revolutionized and go right to the each person to help that. Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor.
Alternate speakers are requested to adhere to the time. We may have so many things to speak, but we cannot say everything at a time. So, following the time frame is again requested.
Thank you, Mr. Chaurasia, and now I invite Dr. Vivek Agarwal to speak.
We all are talking about inflation. The cost of diesel has almost doubled during this period. The human cost, the minimum wages have doubled during this period. Then what are the factors? But why this cost is coming down? Are either the earlier concessioners were extracting, or now we have the technology where we can mint money. This is the big question. We'll have to analyze ourselves. And if this is the scenario, why withdrawals are taking place from many, many cities? Not with one operator or one company, but with many companies, with many operators. So this is one thing which you will have to deliberate, why this cost is coming down when the cost is rising for everything, whether it is diesel, manpower or anything, land. So well, these are the different models which are in practice when we talk about public-private partnership based on the area where I'm just focusing on collection and transportation part more, because I am from that sector. I collect waste and transport it. Either the part of the city is being contracted out, entire city is being contracted out, or the new trend has come to make clusters. Cluster of cities, cluster of towns. These are the strengths and weaknesses of each type of contract. Like if the part of city is contracted out, then there is a competition, like it is happening in state of Gujarat, where the part of city is being contracted out, some part remains with the municipal corporation or with some operators, and there is a positive competition between these two. Then it improves efficiency. Yes, definitely it improves, but the problem is, the weakness is, then one area is saturated and another is not. The philosophy was that there will be optimum utilization of resources, and whatever existing resources the urban local body has will be shifted to other area, but that does not happen. If entire city is contracted out for collection and transportation, yes, efficiency improves. It generates employment or livelihood, question mark. Whether it generates or not, I'll just talk about it, and Professor Shamla is here. She will, through the program I came to know that she will talk about public-private people's partnership. So, well, she will deal with this. Whether the livelihood is actually generated or not. And the weakness is, there is duplication, and what will happen to the existing resources, whether they'll be redeployed or they'll just sit idle. If the cluster of cities, the basic philosophy was that technology should go to the smaller towns as well. And it should support the waste processing facility. Smaller townships or urban local bodies, they were not served by the private contractors or with the technology, so they also get benefit of it. But what is happening? This is one example of the cluster. In the state of Punjab, they have made 7 clusters. Out of those 7 clusters, they have contracted out few clusters. I'll talk about this cluster approach and what is happening with this. We are talking about environment, both the PCB chairmen, they talked about environment very well, and we are all concerned about environment. But we'll have to think about the carbon footprints which are generated out of it. Then there are contracts on the activity based, maybe for door-to-door garbage collection, somewhere it is with collection and transportation. There are different models which are in practice in the country going on. The merits are that the organizations or the corporate or the companies, whosoever have strength in particular activity, they'll take it forward and they will provide better services, and there will be effective monitoring of that. When we talk about the financial models, again, there are models like CAPEX and OPEX, both by the urban local bodies. At some places, the CAPEX is provided by the urban local bodies in form of the fleet of vehicles, equipments, and machinery, and OPEX is borne by the private sector, and for that they get certain tipping fee. At some places, the CAPEX is borne by the private partner, and OPEX is borne by the urban local bodies. At some places, both are being borne by the private partners. And many a times, community also contributes to this. Recently, a model has come in the state of Rajasthan, where the user fee is levied in the electricity bill. We are talking about strived municipal bodies, Mr. Chaurasia, you mentioned about that they are lacking fund. So the new model has emerged, and that's a very good model that based on the electricity consumption, user fee is levied, and that is working well in the state of Rajasthan. What were the benefits envisaged when we started this concept of public-private partnership? That it will be a win-win situation for urban local bodies, for citizens, and the private operators as well. It will increase a healthy competition between the operators, private sector, public sector, and it will improve efficiency. And when we started talking about solid waste management after plague in Surat, we had concern about efficiency. So we'll be able to overcome that inefficiency also. And another issue was, as Mr. Chaurasia mentioned, that most of the urban local bodies, they were having financial crunch. So through this public-private partnership, it was envisaged that even urban local bodies will be able to overcome this situation. But what is happening? Is it creating access to all or nexus between the municipal bodies and certain operators? Is it public-private partnership or personalized profit partnership? It is just aiming to profit someone, or it is for the benefit of the community or for the public sector or for the public at large? That's a big question. I'll just narrate few examples and you'll have to decide yourself what is happening in this country. Is PPP is maturing or deteriorating? There are 4 examples, one of Nagpur, another of Jaipur, one of Ulhasnagar recently come. Out of these, 2 are of Maharashtra, one from Rajasthan and another from Bangalore. You just see this comparison. Nagpur city generates almost 800 metric tons of per day waste. Jaipur generates 1200 tons per day. Ulhasnagar generates 250, only 250 tons per day. And Bangalore, for that particular tender which has come, this is just analysis. We have done analysis of several tenders. This is case of only 4 tenders. This can be shared with whosoever wants. The entire, during last 5 years, we have analyzed all the tenders which are published in the sector of municipal solid waste. And Bangalore, the recent tender has come for handling 500 tons of waste per day. What is the scenario? If we look at the scope vis-a-vis the experience which is sought as the qualifying criteria, you just see, in Nagpur, the tender is of 10 years, Jaipur is of 20 years, Ulhasnagar 8 years, and Bangalore, almost of the same duration, only exception is Jaipur, where it is of 20 years duration. They have sought experience starting from 0 to 10 years. Nagpur has sought experience of 10 years. Jaipur, where the waste generation is 1200 metric ton, have sought experience of only 1 year. Ulhasnagar wants experience of 3 years, and Bangalore, they says we are okay with everything. Then when it is contract for collection and transportation, the important issue is how much waste you have handled. Again, there is a big variation. Let me just mention that CVC, the Central Vigilance Commission, has clear guidelines about tender formulation. Maharashtra has done one exercise to formulate model tender document. But whether that is in practice or not, see what kind of variation you see, the variation which is evident from this chart. Jaipur hardly wants any experience in the waste handling. I'll just conclude. Then the financial parameters are there. For 250 tons of waste to be handled, Ulhasnagar wants the turnover of 100 crores per annum. Bangalore says we are okay. Jaipur, they want turnover of nearly 50 crores. And Nagpur. So why this variation is there? Then Government of India has a policy to promote micro, small, medium enterprises. They have big plans for that. And let me tell you, before these corporates have come into this waste management sector, it was done by the micro, small, medium enterprises only. Can they furnish this much of EMD? Ulhasnagar and Bangalore, they want 1 crore of EMD. Ulhasnagar for 250 tons, Bangalore for 500 tons. Nagpur wants 25 lakhs and Jaipur wants 50 lakhs. Last, about the cluster approach. We are just talking about the carbon footprints and all environment, big things we are talking about. Just see the chart. In Bhatinda cluster, out of 17 municipalities which are part of this cluster, besides Bhatinda, 7 municipalities, waste from 7 municipalities will travel more than 50 kilometers distance per day. So are we creating footprints or reducing carbon footprints? Then this happens. So what is the way forward? Professor Shamla will carry it forward because it is public-private people's partnership. What is required is the absolute transparency, and absolute transparency to involve community, involve private sector, involve CBOs, civil society organizations, and also the government. They have their role to play, and if they play this role, definitely the scenario will be much better. One last thing I would like to mention, I'll just take liberty for 1 minute because certain issues came in the morning session and this session. I would like to recall that India has a different structure for collection transportation. It's unlike other countries. We have traditional sweepers who have been collecting waste from our houses since ages. We have rag pickers, and these two segments within the informal sector, they are collecting and taking care of 80% of waste which is generated from the household, from the domestic. With this public-private partnership, the so-called public-private partnership, they are getting displaced on the name of technology. Why? Is it the livelihood creation or just displacing these people? My concern is during this brainstorming session, if we can deliberate a little bit about those people as well who have contributed to the cleanliness of this country, I'll be grateful, my organization would be grateful. We must talk about the displacement. And another issue I can share with all of you on the open forum, we have documents. You just browse cdcindia.org, you will find a document that on the name of public-private partnership, who are benefited? The people who are serving or people who are just owning. If it is just for the owners, then it is okay. But the people who are serving, they are not even provided with the social security benefits across the country. Almost all the companies, they default into this. They have the right over the provident fund, they have the right over the employees' state insurance. Are they getting it? No. It's a big no. It's a study of 60 cities in the country, and nowhere they are provided with the social security benefits. So when you talk about the technology, my humble request is kindly also talk about human beings who are involved into it. Thank you very much for giving me extra.
Thank you, Dr. Agarwal, and he actually opens a very good platform for discussion. So now Mr. P. Prasad Rao from EPTRI will speak.
Down. This one? Down. Okay. Chairman, dignitaries on the dais, participants, ladies and gentlemen. See, I am from the implementation side. I worked as a commissioner, municipal commissioner for a short span. I started my career as with the privatization concept in 1991 as an economic assistant advisor for public sector reforms in the government of Andhra Pradesh. So from 1991 onwards, I am working with the private sector PPP models, not for municipal solid waste, some public sector reforms and all those things. Then being a government officer, holding of posts or depending on the discrepancies or the desirability of the government. So anyhow, I am working in this sector for the last 13 years. After undergone a specialized training program exclusively on municipal solid waste management and climate change in San Diego University in 2002. I wanted to brought out a specific ground level issues in this platform to have some kind of a brainstorming session. So wherever I go for the last 10 years to attend this kind of a platform, I am finding very rare, the presence of the real executors from the municipalities are very less. So we are all working from some kind of either in the process of policy, or some making a policy, or some recommending a policies of the municipal solid waste management. So presently I am associated with, rather I am an independent engineer for the integrated municipal solid waste management project of GHMC, Greater Municipal Corporation of Hyderabad, where our concessionaire is the Ramki. Of course, my friend Ramki representatives are also here, one of the sponsors I have seen. As of now, this is the first of its kind under PPP in the country, both in terms of volume and scope. See, I am also closely associated while formulating this concept in 2008. So I don't want to go for all these things because everybody has spoken. Rules also I am not going to go, everybody knows it, and of course MSW rules and guidelines of CHIPCO is under revision. Automatically government initiatives will come depending on the evaluation of the sector. So I am coming to both. This conference is short-term solutions and long-term solutions. We have experiencing the short-term solutions right from 1970. The decentralized composting plants are working exceedingly well in the country, different parts of the country, provided the commitment of the individual and the commitment of the community. Coming to these decentralized biomethanization plants are also working in the country very successfully. Majority of them are under private sector. Very few in the public sector, that means that ULB. So I request the organizers of this kind of a forum to document the good practices of the small scale with a scientific backup of that particular system, that particular agency is implementing, and disseminate it to the larger context of the society. So such kind of a good efforts, individual efforts, NGO efforts, we are not able to document it. For example, Palam in Chennai, one Miss Mangalam Balakrishnan, yeah, she has got some kind of a solutions in the biodegradable waste in a smaller scale of preparing the compost, preparing the pellets and the biogas. The biogas means individual households to the community households. She has documented some kind of the methodology, concepts, etc., etc. It is a good working in a smaller scale, but of course scalability is a problem for the technologies. However, those kind of efforts will address certain quantities of waste for providing the solutions. That is one thing. Then we also reviewed the 1970 onwards why the compost plant have failed, why the W2 plants are failed, and why other biomethanization plants for scaling up of is failed. Predominantly we came across two things. One is the O&M expenses are very high for these technologies because of the non-segregation, because of the high moisture content, and the technologies are failing. The second issue is even the private public promoters, the public partnerships are failing to structure the projects keeping in view the financial structuring of the projects. I can say definitely most of the public-private partnerships projects, they are not able to structure the projects taking in view of, my friend told, the escalation costs or hidden costs, whatever it is you can say. Then marketability, over financials, etc., these are some of the reasons. So keeping all this view in view, we have conceptualized the integrated municipal solid waste management project of GHMC, and we have given the entire public health and sanitation wing of the GHMC to a concessionaire. That means door-to-door collection, transportation, setting up of new transfer stations, rehabilitation of the existing transfer stations, setting up of the facilities of T&D, allotment of land, and everything we have given with a capital grant and also a tipping fee per ton basis. Why that project is not, we have signed an agreement on 2009. Even today we are not able to take forward the project in a full scale. Why? Because I also worked as a municipal commissioner, I know the problems in the municipality. By name I am a commissioner, at the end of the day I don't know what I am doing, and I don't know to whom I am controlling. So there are a lot of problems. So there is a need to brainstorm the people working in the municipalities, if then only some kind of the progress you can see in the field. Coming to the second set, the politicians, that means the councillors, the corporators. Brainstorming is necessary for them. We are spending huge amounts of money for the capacity building exercises. The output is nothing. For example, the government of Andhra Pradesh has asked me to conduct the training capacity building programs right from the garbage handlers, that means sweepers, to the elected chairperson, top to the bottom. The presence of the officials are very less. Nobody will care. Then I went to the government and asked the government to issue the mandatory provisions to attend this kind of programs. Then they issued a GO. You must attend the program, otherwise your next increment will be stopped. Then what happened? The municipal engineers and commissioners will come to the training programs and register in their name in that reception, sit for a while, say lunch break, and then went away. So what I wanted to say is some kind of the mandatory provision coupled with sensitization. Unless and until it is not happening in the field and this sector, it is very difficult to move forward from this sector. Coming to my experience in the Ramki. So this is a 727 crores project, and the GHMC has promised to give 700 acres of land on a lease basis for 25 years, etc., etc. And they jolly